Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. So back here on American Truck Simulator, back to basics. We've got the Oklahoma map that we started on last time. I'm trying to kind of stay within the map as I can, so these might be slightly shorter episodes, or we'll see how things go. But I've got this one from McAllister to Enid. I'm going to go ahead and take that. Alright, so definitely in a bit of an old school truck here, that's for sure. So, we'll see how long this takes. It says 3 hours, 47 minutes. Again, with contract jobs, this gets to be a bit challenging from that standpoint. And I should say what I mean by challenging it. It's kind of like if I'm an owner-operator, obviously I'm starting from where I'm at. So one of the things I'm trying to determine is once I do get to the point, which will still take a little bit because I think I really need like a couple 100,000 or certainly over 150 to get a good truck, and I guess I can start then. But my goal might be to pick up trailers and really kind of focus on a specialty, and given that I'm in hazmat in my VTC, that would seem to be the specialty I'd want to focus on, but always open to feedback. The other comment I'll make real quickly here, for those who just like to follow the truck sims on my channel, you may have wondered why there was not a Euro Truck sim this week. Usually every 8 days I kind of go through that, so 4 days ago you should have seen Euro Truck and instead you saw something else. Again, rest assured, it's not being discontinued. I'm still continuing there, but we've hit the 1.48 update just like we did here, and because that one is not simply a base map setup, we're waiting for ProMods to update. So if that goes on for too long, maybe next time I might step down, but what I tend to try to do is just when I get an upgrade, instead of continuing to create some challenges by keeping things down at the lower level and hoping everything continues to work, I just wait for ProMods to update and go from there, and that tends to mean usually 1 or 2 episodes are skipped between, so hopefully that won't be too big of a problem for folks. But at this point we'll see how this goes. So as always, sadly in the community, there's been complaints that occur related to what I would consider as good news. So I guess let me start by saying where my head is at on things like this in this game. I mean, I understand what this game is. It's a trucking simulator driving around the United States. It claims to be nothing more, but yet it seems that there's a decent size, maybe not decent size, but let's say a vocal segment of the community that I'm not sure what they want. But basically there had been, I think I mentioned at the last episode, there was a little bit of a hint of 3 as a party or so forth, and I was hoping that somehow they would announce, hey, we're going to release 3 states together. That's not what happened. They announced Nebraska is coming next. No surprise. That's the next state above Oklahoma, or well, above Kansas, and then just filling out the map as they have been, kind of keep moving east, but do everything and then move east. That seems logical to me. So the complainers came out about Oklahoma. Oh, well, good, you gave us roads and trees and signs and wonderful, just arranged in different ways. And several of us have commented, like, I don't know what you think this sim is, but it's a truck sim, and it's the US, and they can't control that the states in the middle are the way they are. I mean, they're flat, they're boring, as they talked about. They're like, oh, more boring DLC introduced. They're not going to create like jump ramps over canyons, things like that. I just don't know what people are looking for. And so there was a bit of confusion from me there. And of course, then the other complainers were, well, you should go this way and, go to Louisiana. Like, these states you're doing are boring. They're part of America. That's what they're doing. They're simulating America. So there's definitely a group, I would hope a substantial group in the larger group that appreciates and understands that's what this is. And so the good, the bad, the ugly, I mean, to some degree, sure, we all have our favorites. We'd all love to drive here, there, and whatever. But in the end, I'm fine with whatever it is. I mean, I just want to get the whole map at some point, and so to support them, I'll buy what people are calling boring. And certainly I'm not going to try to dispute the Midwest, the Great Plains states are relatively boring. You drive through them, they're boring. I've driven across Nebraska. It's hard to stay awake in Nebraska sometimes. You don't even have to turn the wheel sometimes for half an hour. The highway's just straight. And again, are they going to model it that way? They may not. They may do something different. I don't know. But I'm not sure what people are looking for in actuality. So it's disappointing when you get a bunch of those folks. Usually I just ignore them, but I felt it important, for whatever it may be worth, to the folks at SCS to let them know not everybody feels the way these folks feel, and some of us are willing to at least push back on these folks, and at least, what are you expecting? And if you want something different, well, then clearly, yeah, you're not a fan of what this game is. Because a lot of people are grumbling about you're not introducing new gameplay, you're not changing the engine, and I've talked about this over and over again. Other than less than truckload type of things, that I think would be an interesting addition to the game. Am I going to stop playing the game because they don't have it? No. Am I going to stop bringing up the fact that it would be an interesting addition? No. I think that would be a worthwhile expenditure of time from SCS to go ahead and figure out how to allow me, if I want to be a local regional driver, let me pick up 2 or 3 contracts that don't fill my truck, and obviously I have to introduce those dynamics to show, like, do I have capacity? How do I load the truck? What am I doing? What order are my stops going to happen in? I mean, it could create this whole dynamic of dispatch and so forth. And once again, because you're simulating at this point, it's interesting how it's like this overpass under construction. That I've not seen in the game yet, either by modders or SCS. That's neat. To me, it's not a new gameplay mechanic, but hey, it's something to talk about for a second. So yeah, I knew we were going to pass through another state, but I don't know Oklahoma's geography well enough. So Tulsa is a large city. So this is certainly a good one. It looks like we've got a Viewpoint over there at some point. If we deliver to Tulsa, maybe we'll find a way to get ourselves over there. So let me turn this off. 559,000 miles on this truck. Oh, looks like we're going to have to exit left to go to Enid. So let's head over there. But, so yeah, I'm not saying there aren't things they can't do, but this becomes the opportunity cost discussion I have at various points with various sims when people start complaining. Well, you're not doing this. Developers have to make a decision. Am I going to spend time here or there? And they're never going to make everybody happy. But at the end, like if suddenly they started, okay, we're gonna take a year off from delivering any DLC, and we're gonna deliver gameplay enhancements because we're building LTL. there's going to be a group of people that are going to be okay with that, and then you're going to have other people who just want a broader map, saying, oh my goodness, wow, this is terrible. And again, a lot of people will stick around, some people may not. But those are decisions that need to be made. And at this point, like, not adding more states when there are plenty of states to add doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think, if I remember, I think it was $11.99 for this DLC, which I think was a little bit more. I think the DLCs used to be $10.99 before. Because someone commented about how it's more than it was before. Great. It's more than it was before Texas. In Texas, they were clear, like, it's almost like 2 DLCs because it's so large. They let the community know Texas will be more. And if I remember, I think that was like $17.99. It's not like they made it double or something. It was reasonable. To me, it's the price of a movie ticket, and I'm getting way more than 2 hours of enjoyment out of any state. However it is set up, however boring it is. Do we have to... oh, okay. Jeez, that guy scared the heck out of me. Right, so interesting that Oklahoma has just a lot of these kind of drive-through tolls. I'm assuming that's the reality. I don't know. I've not been through Oklahoma in a long time. I'm talking like multiple decades time. So they certainly wouldn't have even had the technology to do these kind of tolls then. And I was actually a child when we went through Oklahoma. So, I don't know what else I can say about that. I don't know if this is accurate, but I have no reason to believe that it's not. So, it just gets repetitive and a little bit frustrating and annoying, because I want to support SCS. I think they've got a great product, and I enjoy it, and it brings me enjoyment. And those of us that do like it, I accept the reality of what it is. They're giving us states, and if they're modeling the states in ways that are as true to life as possible, within the mechanics of what it is, like, again, I'm covering 20 miles for every mile I drive. So are they going to show me everything? No. Even in a city, it's going to look very sparse compared to what people want, because not many cities cover, say, 40 miles. So you're not going to have 2 miles of scenery in American Truck Simulator to cover that, because the city's not that big. So it's the same thing. We went through Tulsa. There was nothing notable that I saw about Tulsa. It didn't attract my attention as I was talking to you, other than, hey, cool, we hit Tulsa. I don't know the geography. I didn't totally realize. And again, when it popped up, I did realize it, because I've certainly looked at a map enough to know that it's one of the first cities you hit when you're coming from the eastern United States and you're heading through. I'm watching a Storm Chasers thing that I happened to find online. Just started watching 2 or 3 episodes, like a 5-season thing, and that's literally what it's called, is Storm Chasers. And they're running around here through Oklahoma and Nebraska and Kansas and whatever. So, like, I find it an interesting tie-in. It's like, guess what? They're driving around there too. It's pretty boring, other than they're chasing tornadoes. Looks a lot like what I see here in the game. So I'm not really that upset with what they've done. So I just think the folks that complain about that stuff are unrealistic, and also not understanding that, they're probably then going to complain like, oh my god, it's been 3 years since you released the new state, after they get some gameplay mechanic. I mean, I think those may be people that are just never happy, because it's interesting that they hang around and they complain every time, so they're clearly interested enough in the game to moan about it. But, you know, then they, you know, they don't really have any realistic thing other than, you know, and again, that's the thing they'll suggest. You're not introducing any gameplay mechanics and great, you know, texturing or whatever. The game looks good enough. I don't need photorealistic stuff that's going to, like, tax my system to drive a truck. It's going to be exciting for 5 seconds, and then I just want to be able to drive a truck. So I find this more than realistic enough for me. And so I'm fine with what they're doing. Others are not, is really all that is to say. So I think if I find another, like, one to the next city, I can do that in this episode. If I don't have anything like that, we're just going to keep going along. The other piece I've got is, you know, do I do something a little bit longer? Where do I park this? Oh boy. Oh no, it's up here somewhere. Interesting. I'm not sure that I know where I need to go. But it must be right there. Well, let me go here and then we'll start backing in and see if we can figure it out. Because I can't get out of the truck to look around, and one of the things I've committed to in this series is that I'm going to try to stay in cab. So I didn't see where they wanted me. So the question is, like, am I on the other side of that truck? I guess I can assume I am, and therefore not turn too sharply. Oh boy, I can't see. I feel like I'm going to waste a huge amount of time here because I don't know where they want me, but I'm thinking it's on the other side of that truck. So, not there yet, because yeah, nothing's blinking on the ground here. So it's probably around that side of the building. And again, this is, I think, what they'd call a blind side turn. God, I can't tell anything. It looks like, yeah, I'm definitely going to be hitting. Alright, well, I'm not parking here, so I know that. So yes, I'm doing something there. Now let me turn much more sharply this way, and I think that's what I need to do. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Wrong direction. So let me do that. I need to go this way. See, but we're close enough to the fence that I can't see anything there. Oh boy, I don't even know what I'm doing. I guess we'll see what I can see here, and if I bang something and have to stop, I guess it'll be what it'll be. Someone's beeping at me. I don't know. I'm assuming that's because I'm going to hit somebody. Alright, so I can't see anything. Alright. So I think there's a loading dock kind of back there a bit. So I'm sure it was the driver in that truck doing his thing. Alright, there we go. Now I can see where they want me. So now it's a matter of getting there. Hopefully in a way that doesn't cause too much pain and agony. Let's see. Not sure that I'm over enough. Yeah, I'm okay. So that'll work. So I can kind of see where I need to be. Turn myself there. Straighten out. I think we're all right. There we go. All right. So that was a bit of a challenge, that's for sure. Alright, so let's see. Again, I think we have a ways to go before we level up again. We do. So let's see. We are over here in Enid. So McAllister is a long way. I don't need to go to McAllister. Guyman's probably a bit long. Let's see. Ardmore. Tulsa. Let's see. Woodward? Yeah, let's do Woodward. That'll work. Alright, so we're leaving from this same location. We obviously parked over next to that. Let me turn on my lights here so I don't get another penalty, but they already moved that trailer. It's kind of how the game works. Alright, so we're turning left out of here. And again, the way it works is now we'll be driving at night for the next few loads. And that's kind of what we've got. Alright, so we're heading up here, which would make sense because we're continuing to the west into western Oklahoma. So getting on West 412, it's telling me. We're in a Volvo now. So again, not my favorite instrument panel of the game for sure. It's got that weird yellow display and so forth, but you know, it is a truck and it is designed the way it's designed. But this one should be relatively quick here. Should get me there. It's only 78 miles, so a little photo opportunity there. Oh, like silhouettes of cowboys and cattle. I think Enid, I remember that, like on cattle drives and things like that. Alright, looks like we've got to go slower here, so we don't want to be speeding and getting in trouble. Hopefully we can make it through here. See if we won't make it through the light. We'll have to wait. But yeah, I can always go to Guyman next time or something like that. But I'm trying to keep these a little bit short, and I also have full disclosure, the reality of I've got a short window of time when I could work on this episode, and wanted to hopefully get everything recorded because I'm running up against the deadline to keep things on schedule for you guys. So I definitely want to do that if I can. Goldfinch I see over at the left side out my window. What have we got? The Enid Public something. Public Schools. There you go. Administrative Service Center on that building. Off to the right, I'm looking at the building itself, not the sign. But now the sign I can clearly see says Welcome to Enid Public Schools. So, keeping it pretty generic. They didn't like give a name of the school or anything, so they didn't go that realistic. But, you know, again, it's if those buildings, if, you know, Enid Police there, you know, if those types of buildings were present in other states, I don't remember that level. Looks like we have the health center, the hospital, and again, the lights weren't on until we got a little closer. That's okay. That helps with rendering speed, things like that. To me, you know, again, I'm sure the haters are going to be out there complaining like the lights should be on regardless of how far away I am, and you know, because again, I am playing on a pretty high end system per ATS requirements, so I certainly have things turned up, but you know, they're not fully up because when it's far away it doesn't matter that much. And why push the thing? You know, this isn't a goal of like, let me see what the hardware can handle series. You know, I just want to enjoy getting around. And again, the real companies gives me Pizza Hut, Dunkin' Donuts that we passed earlier. Not sure if you noticed it, but certain things like Gallon Oil were still there, which are, the generic in-game companies. So I'm just not sure, again, for modders, like when there's a new DLC like this, maybe there's a new ID number for Gallon Oil that they have to incorporate in there. Okay, so let's see if they do anything different train-wise here. Usually they're pretty short. It's certainly not moving super fast. It's almost like it was parked and it's starting when I got here, which is a nice dynamic if that's what they did. But yeah, a little bit short, which is great because again, it's not real life simulator. It's American Truck Simulator. I don't need to be here with a 30-minute freight train in the middle of Oklahoma, which would probably be very realistic. But I don't need to be doing that in-game and then spending that time. But yeah, like I said, the haters would be like, oh, the lights of the hospital should be on. I should be able to see it from far away. There should be a helicopter landing on the roof. Yeah, they can do all those things, but once again, that decision to do those things means they're not doing something else. And right now, I am perfectly comfortable with them putting every ounce of energy they have into their maps. And I do get the other people, like there was one person I saw, so no updates for ETS2. I think the people are forgetting, like, I think they were, like, darn near ready to release Russia, and then they put it on hold because Russia invaded Ukraine. And I think people forget that, like, they had, Russia's easily got to be Texas or more. I mean, think about the land mass of Russia and how big that is. And then they had to pivot and say, well, we're not releasing Russia, so hey, we're announcing West Balkans. Like, West Balkans, I don't think was under development. I think that became, what can we do instead? Because we're not going to release Russia because we don't want that to be the image right now. So it's going to take a long time till they're done with West Balkans. And people are kind of like, well, you're not doing anything for ETS2. Well, they are. You forget they probably spent 18 months working on Russia that basically got put in a pile and said, not today. So they need some time. And in the meantime, they're not just going to suddenly stop working on ATS. And once again, they're very different landscapes. I don't think it would be as easy. I think this is, again, people who don't understand development teams and so forth. Moving people who are familiar with the terrain here and moving them to something totally different is not as easy as it sounds. Whoa. I'm not going to pass this up. Oh boy, I may run into something here. But there's a viewpoint. I don't know if I'm worried about the photo as much as I am the viewpoint, but Gloss Mountain State Park, I get it's dark. We're here. So, we'll do it, and then maybe like I can play it during the day later. I don't know how that works. So let's see. We'll do that. Can do. Okay. So, I mean, it looks like it's probably really pretty. I'm sure it's a lot prettier during the day. I'm not going to dispute that. So, I'm a little underwhelmed. I'm not gonna lie, because you can't see the colors and whatever. But we're here, and my point being, like, maybe what I'll try to do if I can remember is, like, maybe when it's daytime, maybe I can replay this and it'll play at like the time that it is, and so we can see this in the daylight. But at least in the gallery changes they made, I'll now be able to do that. So that will give me that option, is what I'm hoping. And I'm not really worried about completing the photo missions or whatever in the game. That's just not really the focus, and I don't want to drag things out even longer for stuff like that. Alright, so Gloss Mountain. So I assume that's Gloss Mountain. Don't know any of the history of it. If someone does, you're from Oklahoma, you're from that area, let us know. I mean, it's a state park, it's not a national park, so it's probably something that local people would be more familiar with than just random folks around. So, alright, let's get moving again. At least we didn't cause any accidents or anything, backing up to be able to get there. But I should be close, I would think. I mean, 78 miles isn't that far. But this is obviously taking me a bit of time. And oh, interesting. I guess I forgot to hit the resume on things. Just realized I had my other GPS up. I can turn that off. It was visible since I moved my camera. But should be getting close here. But because we're not on interstate, obviously it's taken us a bit longer. But I think that's part of the charm that you'll have with a state like this too, is for the most part, I do think a lot of the western or the Midwest states like this, the Great Plains states, I'll say, because Illinois, Iowa, Ohio, those are still Midwest states, but they're much more populated. It's pretty realistic, or it is the reality, that you have one highway through them. So if you're going to any other parts of the state, you're doing so. So that flashing sign was interesting because, yeah, there's no stop sign, but to avoid really bad, horrendous wrecks, you're going to put something up to warn people, like you're coming up on an intersection. So that'll be a two-way stop across that. Someone may misjudge it and not realize, hey, you're moving along at 65 on this road, and you may have to react to them. So I hear a train. That's not great. Alright, let's slow down. Okay, we've discovered Woodward, so 6 out of 10 cities have been discovered. I'm going to move over this way in case I need to turn left, because right now I'm not seeing anything. Again, if we do turn left, we may have another viewpoint that is in the dark. But I'm thinking that would have, well, no, that might not have been my turn. Alright. Yeah, I assume it would have told me to turn left well before this otherwise, so we don't have to worry about that, but we're clearly on the other side of Woodward. So again, local church, those are definitely very important in this area of the country. People will be all about the churches. So those are important, I think, a great thing for SCS to focus on, because they would be central to the community. That was a bit more modern, and there's probably a lot more white wooden churches out in this area. I mean, I'm sure there's all kinds, but alright, so we got a little motorcycle. We're still not seeing the delivery location. That's interesting. Now it looks like there's a road that goes off kind of at an angle. So that's interesting, the road network that they've chosen to model in here. But yeah, the other feedback people have been giving is, ooh, when you do Nebraska, you better do Omaha and Lincoln, and people did bring up, in essence, what I would say might be LTL related, where they said it would be great to have the city in more detail for people who like to do day cab stuff, where, again, you're just staying local and you want more challenging deliveries and things like that. Because I do think that is something that is lacking a little bit in ATS, because the U.S. is just kind of generally sprawling. We don't have a whole lot of challenging delivery locations. but you certainly would in cities. So if they did more on the city front, that would make it possible to be what you have a lot of in ETS, where you've just got really tight locations to get into. And once again, that would be really key to make sure you had equipment that made sense for that. And that would be a whole other area that SCS could certainly delve into. One of the things they don't give is like box trucks. If we had to drive that, it's still truck simulation. It's a different kind of truck, and probably not what people want to drive all the time, but that would certainly be a different option that they could give us, to be able to move around in crowded streets and do smaller deliveries and things like that, because that's a reality of the logistics market as well. Alright, so we're heading up here. Now this one, I tell you, it took longer than I expected, so I'm glad I didn't go to Gaiman, because that would have been really long. As this sits, it's probably pretty well into beyond the half hour anyway. So, alright, so we're going to turn left here. Basically, not really a 180, but a good sharp left. Good news is we got no traffic coming the other way, so I can be a little more deliberate. Do we have anybody? No, thank goodness. Nobody sitting there that I need to avoid. Alright, and then we're going back to this Axos Power or whatever. And these are just, household, home accessories. I would think, like, if I wanted to do hazmat, I would think there'd be a big booming business of that in Oklahoma here, but don't know. Alright, I see the delivery point. And again, it's in this case, this is a decent sized yard again, so I'm hoping this won't be too challenging. Although, is this on this side? It is. Ooh, that will be challenging because of the way that yard dog is positioned. I believe that's what those things are called. Those little local. Now, let me see if I want to go this way. I think that's what I want to do. No, I want to go the other way. And we'll get this turning pretty sharply. Can't tell if I'm sharp enough, but I think I am. I clear the light pole here. I am. I think I might be much further over than I want to be. A little bit, not entirely. So let's see, what have we got in front here? Alright, so I want to go that way and then turn back. And then I should be able to see here where we're at. So it's a little bit more challenging of a parking job than we would normally have, because like I said, he's kind of almost sticking out where I need to be. If you look at that, like I'm really heading close to him. A little further over than I would like, so this is not the greatest job, but I think it'll give it to me. And you can see he's like right next to me there. I think I may have actually bumped him a little bit. I felt a little bit of a shake. So that took a bit, given that we didn't go that far. But at this point, definitely going to wrap it up. Doing well, $76,000. So I hope to see you next time.